In this video, Paul shares how he turned his dream of owning a gym into reality. He discusses the pros and cons of buying an existing gym versus starting one from scratch. He also gives you a clear idea of what to expect when owning a gym. If you've ever been curious about what it takes and what it costs, then make sure to keep watching.
My name is Paul Paolela, and I'm in the business of strength. Freshman year of college, Ohio University. I was always an athlete in high school. I grew up in a really small town in Ohio, very rural, and kind of the only way out in my mind was sports. So, obviously I didn't turn into a professional athlete or grow tall enough to be a professional athlete. When I started at that job at the Campus Recreation Center, I realized you could study exercise physiology. And it was there I was hooked. I declared that my major, and freshman year started studying exercise physiology, finished that program, and then went on to do a master's also. I was born in North Central Ohio, in a really small town. Not really close enough to anything to give you a reference point for it. But if you draw a triangle between Columbus, Cleveland, and Toledo, you're sort of in the middle of that triangle. My inspiration was always to work with athletes. My inspiration was always to help people get stronger, help people get healthier. I guess a little allegory I can tell you is when I was a kid, Jose Canseco and Mark McGwire were great baseball players, right? And Jose Canseco was jacked, right? Now we know why now, but at the time when I was a kid, he had this vein down his biceps. So I used to take a marker and just draw that vein on and go outside and pretend like I was hitting a baseball. So I always wanted to be involved in sports, and when I discovered weightlifting, in order to be able to be heavy enough to play high school football, I needed to put on some weight, and so I fell in love with weightlifting, I fell in love with training, and it was a great opportunity for me when I got to college to become a trainer, study exercise physiology, and it wasn't even something I was aware that I was going to be able to do, but when I got to school, that was something that I was able to pursue. I started here as a trainer probably around 2014 or 2015. The gym was named In Training, it's still named In Training, and it's always been the same location, 7416 Beverly Boulevard. It is the first personal training gym in the city of Los Angeles, and the previous owner, John Aranita, started this gym as a place for himself and a few high-level competitors in the bodybuilding community to have a place to do this at the intensity and kind of with the privacy that they wanted to do it. He approached me late in 2023. He had been in his 60s, and I mean, look, the guy's in phenomenal shape. If you saw him, he's just looks great. He's still jacked, and he's still an incredibly capable trainer. But he was ready to move on. In a very simple way, I wrote him a check. So there wasn't any sort of financing. I'd been saving up really my whole career in case the opportunity had come across. I've always dreamt of being a gym owner. This is a place that I take a lot of pride in, being able to keep the doors open and teach and allow other people to teach weightlifting, the art of weightlifting, the art of getting stronger. It's also a place for community members to come. So when the opportunity for me arose to buy the gym, it wasn't a question. It was something that I knew that I wanted to do. My business is essentially not members or clients, my business is trainers. So the personal trainers, the way the model works is they train their clients here, they have a business relationship with their client, and then they pay me for the space, right? I think that the biggest thing that sets us apart, probably especially in the city of Los Angeles, is that we're not distracted, we're not concerned with being well known or being known far and wide. We're here for this community, We want to affect the lives of the people closest to us. In my view of gyms, they're one of the last real meritocracies that we've got. They're one of the last places where you can come in, work hard, and make yourself and make your life better. And I take a lot of pride, like I said, in being able to provide that space to our community. We focus on the people here. We focus on them getting their work in, not who we are as trainers, not sort of trying to be a big name, be a big brand. We hope that our neighbors come here. We hope that our neighbors come in and get stronger and get healthier. We hope to be a place that kids can come and learn confidence, learn strength, learn anatomy, learn their bodies, because those are important things, and get them up and get them moving. So I think the distinction here, and what In Training has always been, it's a place for people to come and focus on what the goal is without the distraction and without a lot of the bells and whistles that have recently been introduced into the fitness industry. The boxing gym and the weightlifting gym, the personal training gym, have always had a very strong relationship. It's always been John in the front, but there have been a few different owners here. They've always worked really, really closely together. So it's, in a way, you can think about it, if you don't want to sift through all the paperwork, is the In Training is the umbrella company, and then a company within that company is the boxing gym. It's been called many different things. Currently, what we're looking for is a new ownership and some new direction. That will be heavily influenced by my vision for the space, and I will continue to have a management role post my ownership role here. The vision that I have for the space is a lot of classes, not just boxing, but we would love to get into jiu-jitsu, so Brazilian jiu-jitsu specifically, along with, and this is what I think I'm most passionate about, bringing in youth and teaching them the value of strength, the value of sort of being up and active and out of the house, okay? And so one of the things that we're gonna do here, actually very exciting, on Sunday, I have a trainer named Sammy, and Sammy is starting a volunteer program. He's volunteering his time, and he is offering self-defense for young Jewish men to come in and to learn self-defense and to learn boxing. And so Saturday, that's going to be May 5th, will be the first day that we have some kids in here learning from Sammy, some self-defense and boxing, but most importantly, learning community and learning to be in a group who are, in physical exertion, learning strength, and being away from the screens and away from a lot of the stuff that plagues the youth today. The Pilates studio, which is called Devin Pilates, the name of the woman who owns that, is a specifically gyrotonic Pilates. And I think there are only 2 or 3 gyrotonic studios in the city. It's a very specific discipline of Pilates. In Training is the umbrella company. She's complete owner of that Pilates studio. We have a professional relationship where she's essentially renting that space from me. And so she is not on a separate lease. We share that space. Well, we don't share it, she rents it. And she's doing gyrotonic Pilates in there. She has 4 or 5 phenomenal instructors who are doing a very specific thing. John, as the guy who started the gym, thankfully kept things pretty simple. So there was some training. He and I sat down and we looked at some of the things that he had established as far as systems goes. Some of them were antiquated and I wanted to come in and replace them, which was pretty easy, like the Google Sheets or something along those lines. Any independent trainer is used to keeping a schedule. It's part of training that doesn't get talked about a lot, but if you see 5 to 8 people a day, that's a very busy trainer. You're managing that schedule. So you're on the hour, you're concerned with turnover. My next client's coming in, I have to get this session done. So they're used to keeping a schedule. The medium in which they keep it might change. Like I said, I went from, we had an app specifically designed to just a simple Google Sheets, which was a little simpler actually than what he was using. But also any sort of gym, and I think any small business, although I'm not familiar with all small businesses, right? But I think any gym has its own esoteric sort of needs. And so we have certain things here, the way that you have to kind of turn the key just the right way in the gates up front and those sorts of things. He and I worked with those things together. I had been here for a long time and I had taken on a leadership role previous to that. So it wasn't necessarily hard to transition with the trainers who were here. We were all very familiar with one another. They understood I wasn't coming in to reinvent the wheel. I wasn't coming in to change major policies. This place is pretty important to a lot of people, and I just wanted to be sure that there was some consistency from the previous owner and they were going to be able to continue along with their path. We don't own the building, so I am renting here. I'm a tenant here. So those costs aside, the way that it was an extremely fair price with John and I, there weren't especially negotiations. He said, this is how much I need. And I said, I have that much, let's make it happen. That number came in around $130,000. That was to buy the existing equipment. That was to buy the business, right? And so that didn't come along. There's costs obviously monthly on top of that. The first thing I did was do a small renovation, which was close to about $10,000. I'm not an especially astute financial guy. I think I'm pretty conservative. I think I'm very responsible. But my work schedule now, 5 a.m. to 7 p.m., I've always been willing to train. I've never said no to a client. I've never said, that's under my rate. I've never been dogmatic about it. I think a lot of trainers lose their ass saying, oh, you can only pay me $90 an hour, not $110, and they're not busy enough, frankly. So I didn't move here to be an actor. This is the most on camera that I'd ever want to be. I didn't move here to be in entertainment. I didn't do personal training as a side gig or a hustle. I studied exercise physiology to the level of a master's degree, and I wanted to have a career as a personal trainer. It took me probably 5 or 6 years to just break even, basically, right? But you grow with your clients. If you're providing a great service, I know it may seem a little hyperbolic. If you're a good trainer, you're the first level of healthcare for those people. You're also pushing them. You're also encouraging them to expand their boundaries and their expectations. So I've had a lot of clients who have grown an enormous amount in their professional success during the time that I've worked with them, and they've rewarded me with financial rewards, increasing my rate, increasing some of the bonuses that they may offer. And so I didn't do anything special. I have always said that in the city of Los Angeles, if you're willing to outwork people, you can be successful. If I didn't have my personal training business active still, I wouldn't be profitable enough to pay my rent at home, right? But the gym in and of itself does pretty well. A lot of it for me, I am putting right back into the gym. I have 2 jobs. Currently, my trainer self is supplementing my owner self. What I want in 5 years is for that to flip. I want, maybe to train about half as much and to be able to slow down and focus more on just the ownership elements. It's a very low-cost business to operate. We don't have an inventory, we don't have goods, we're not buying and selling. Our operating costs are really low. We have an internet bill, we have a DWP bill, we have a gas bill. In all honesty, I don't have an exact number off the top of my head for what that is. We're probably bare bones, just keep the lights on and the doors open, not including our rent here. It's probably less than $1,000 a month. I don't have employees. Well, I have 1 employee, but we don't have a payroll. We don't have, the business is structured in a way where trainers are renting from me. And so that's the income to the gym. The gym is paid for by the trainers who use it. I suppose it's a little bit closer to a collective or to a co-op than it is to a traditional business, right? So as of March 1st, like I said, we're making enough to pay the rent and to bring a little bit home. I don't have a specific number for you. Like I said, the costs are pretty low, so the gross and the net aren't that different from one another. As long as there's enough money in that account for the first couple of years to keep the doors open and to pay the rent, I'm fine. Now my main focus is my business account. My business bank account gets a little bit bigger each month. Financially, there's no real comparison. I think that absolutely, if you have the opportunity to buy a business that's established, that's making, again, this is a very rough number, but maybe you're making a couple of grand a month already. And so you're not starting with that 5 years of, okay, we're gonna be in the red for 5 years, and we know that, and our investors are cool with that and all that sort of thing. The relationship is established with the landlord, the relationship is established with the community. And so I'm very fortunate from a financial perspective that although I'm not at a number that I want to be at, I'm not at a number that I'm threatened that the business would have to close. So from a financial perspective, I think buying a business that pre-exists and is pretty well established and ingrained in the community, I don't think that there's much of a conversation to be had about that being more financially beneficial. You want to start from scratch. You want to have a vision, execute your vision, see your dream come to life. You know, I'm having to acquiesce to some things here that I maybe wouldn't prefer, but I realize that it's going to take me more than a couple of months of ownership to sort of disassemble some bad habits. I'm not coming in with he started it, he owns it, that's unequivocally true, we all know that. I'm coming in with the like, well, John didn't do things that way. You know what I mean? And that can have its challenges in and of itself. So a little bit of a complicating factor, and I don't mind getting into this if you want to get into it further, was when I was 30 years old, I was diagnosed with stage 4 bladder cancer. And so I didn't come from much. I didn't have a safety net. I didn't have the financial support of a family. And so in my 30s, I saw that number in my bank account get pretty scary and pretty low a couple of times. You know, I consider myself part of the healthcare system, but in the preventative side of things. The unfortunate thing about our healthcare system is cancer costs however much money you have. I've also had the great fortune in my career of traveling with some really prominent and successful musicians. That's a good paying job. And so I've been on both sides of it. I've been a trainer in the city who's broke, who's riding a bike to an old woman's house who would prefer that you help her with her kumquats than train her. And I've been, VIP for years and years and years at Coachella, training multiple musicians in the artist area. That experience, that wide breadth of experiences that I've had as a trainer, I think led me to believe I could do the ownership thing. And at a certain point, I decided that mainly my finances were going to go towards saving if this opportunity did ever arise. And that goal never changed. And, I'm 42 years old and I bought the gym on March 1st that everything became official. And I needed all 42 of those years to be able to sit in the seat that I'm sitting in. But, like I said, I think if you're willing to outwork people, if you're willing to dedicate yourself to your clients, I think a lot of people can get to that. If there were a button right here that I could push that says you didn't have to do it, I would not push that button. Frankly, I think before I got sick, I don't think that I had the strength, the mental strength, the confidence or the belief in myself that I could ever do this. I've been stage 4. I have a small tattoo on my elbow here. I have a lot of tattoos. I just happen to have one small one that says less than 3%. And the first doctor who diagnosed me told me those were my chances of survival. I never believed that doctor. I just thought he was wrong. And having gone through those experiences, if I give them back, I don't think I'm in this seat. So people talk about how it affected me. I think it propelled me. Again, it's horrible. I don't want to do it anymore. I've got to continue treatment. I'm still in treatment now. In a way, I'm lucky to have been able to prove who I believe myself to be, what kind of man I believe myself to be. And when I was able to prove that, I thought, you know what? You can do these things that you want to do. And having been given the opportunity to prove what I believed about myself, I'm thankful for it. Being located kind of right in the middle of Los Angeles, our clientele is pretty eclectic. So we do get a good mix of people here. There are a lot of long-term relationships that happen here. I think what attracts, what attracts people here and what our specific clientele is that we're not distracted. There's not a whole lot else going on. You're here, you're with your trainer, you're working on your specified goals, and it stays pretty straightforward like that. Look, we're always open to new trainers. We're always open to new training styles. We're not dogmatic about any of those sorts of things. But we have a wide variety of guys. Like I said, we have guys who have been in the industry for 30 years. We had a young man who just started here who's just getting his start. He's about a year in to his training career. So, we have clients who come here for all different reasons. We have some guys who specialize in physical therapy, in rehab. We have a trainer who specializes in post-stroke, so getting people back, eye-hand coordination, mobility, something called proprioception. And then we have myself, who's worked with professional athletes, guys who are competing in basketball at a high level, guys who are competing in baseball. And so it's a good group of people. I will say that most of the clients are close by. Definitely not any influencers. We're on the opposite end of the spectrum there. Like I said, everybody has their own path, right? We're not necessarily hoping to cast the widest net. I know that might sound a little bit strange from a business, but what we really want to focus on are the people who are already here, okay? And so the trainers who are already here, a lot of them are very busy. You know, I think for us, this has traditionally been a word of mouth gym. And trainers who have a long established career, you know, it's word of mouth for them to get new clients. I am, however, starting to a little bit more so. I'm building a website currently. We'll associate that with an Instagram account most likely. But for the most part, you know, what we need to attract here aren't actually clients from my perspective. As the owner of the gym, I want to attract good personal trainers. Right now, my biggest challenge is I'm really wearing two different roles here. So I'm still training. I have a very healthy clientele as a trainer, and then the ownership demands pretty basic and straightforward paperwork, monitoring the gym, anything that the gym itself sort of may need. So a typical workday for me, I pull into my parking spot at 4:45 in the morning. I open the gym, unlock it. We do have a few members who are coming in very early at 5 a.m. So sessions start here. Typically at 5 a.m. we'll have a session or two going. I myself typically will see clients until maybe 10 or 11. I am fairly new to doing both jobs, so admittedly there are times when my focus is being pulled in two different directions. And so I'm trying to focus just on my client. That requires a very high level of organization. So productivity for me is all about preparing the workout, preparing teaching points that I know that specific client may need to work on, being sure that, you know, little stuff like the gym is clean and organized, people know where the equipment is so that they can go through a great workout without looking for things. But I think the key to productivity is preparation. I think that's the number one thing. So when I get here in the morning, I'll typically spend an hour or so in the office laying out my day, understanding that at certain points in the day I want to have hit certain check marks. I leave the gym, which is made me a little nervous lately, but I leave the gym and I go do a cryotherapy session. So cryotherapy, if you're unfamiliar, is a cold therapy. I step into a chamber that is about negative 240 degrees. I stand there for 4 minutes and then I come back here. It's phenomenal to keep my mood, to keep my mental health up. The physical benefits are there as well. So middle of the day I come back. Typically I'll get a workout in then myself, prepare for my evening block of clients, answer any emails, answer any phone calls, answer any client questions, and talk to trainers about how they're doing, what they need, what I can do to support their business and put a foundation behind them so that, like I said, they can stay super simple and just train their client. I'll be really honest, I don't really balance it right now. I'm not that balanced of a guy at the moment. I'm very fortunate in the sense that John, who owned the gym previous to me, created a very open, welcoming family environment. So I don't know if Olive is in the shot right now, but I bring my personal life with me here. This is Olive, the love of my life. She's 10 and she's here most days. I have wonderful support from my girlfriend, Rain, and she was here earlier today filling water bottles with cleaning solution, and you know, she's been phenomenal. In a way, I can bring my life here, you know. Other than that, and going out to get a great sushi dinner once a week, right now we're focused on moving the gym into its next phase, and we're focused on the hard work that it's going to take to get that done. You know, I guess if I were going to use kind of a platitude of sorts, right? I guess perfection is the enemy of good, right? And I think for most small business owners who absolutely love what they do, this is my passion along with my business, along with a personal practice myself of lifting weights, along with the way that I keep my health the best that I can. So when you have that level of investment and you're that passionate, and a lot of small business owners are that passionate about the thing that they do, you know, you have a vision and you have a dream, and settling for less than that feels terrible. But I have to remind myself, perfection is the enemy of good. And so it's not going to be perfect. I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. But I have to remind myself, move it forward, keep going every day. I'm not going to get every box checked. If you have ambition, authentic ambition, you won't get it all done. If you're getting every single thing done and you're home by 5 o'clock, you know, I would question how invested you really are and how passionate you really are about that. So the challenges for me are accepting my failures as lessons, accepting that there is a lot of room for growth still, not being a finished product quite yet, and allowing for a learning curve and allowing myself, you know, being a trainer for 20 years, pretty well established in the industry, pretty successful as a trainer, you know, I feel like this neophyte, right? Like I'm just this young, new thing. And that's challenging to go from the same industry where you're a high-level expert at one thing, and then now I'm brand new at another thing. So I try to remind myself, you know, my first year as a trainer, I wasn't that good, you know. And so I want to be able to remind myself to grow. That's a challenge for me, being somebody who's so passionate and invested in wanting it to be exactly what my vision is. The most prominent lesson is that little saying I used before, which is perfection is the enemy of the good. I'm very demonstrative about my vision. I'm very demonstrative about my passion here, but it's not going to be perfect, and I'm going to make mistakes. And I guess I'm saying that as much to myself as I am to any other business owner out there. Set your alarm clock for very early in the morning. Be ready to say yes more than you say no. When I started studying exercise physiology in college, and when I got my undergrad degree, people would say, so what are you going to do? Then I got my master's degree and people would say, so what are you going to do? And then I moved here and I was a personal trainer, and people said, so when you grow up, what are you going to do? The number one predictor of longevity is lower body strength. The ability for me to stand up off of this chair. The ability for me when I'm 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years old to enjoy a walk. When you lose your lower body strength, you become sedentary, and we know the health risks associated with being sedentary. So I think, I'll be very frank here, I think that there are a lot of people in the fitness industry right now who are in it for the wrong reasons. I think there are a lot of people who are in it to self-aggrandize. I think there are a lot of people in it who think that they should be, I'm saying this in front of a camera, I don't believe that. I should be behind the camera. The people who I train, that's who I do it for. Get into fitness, get into gym ownership, get into personal training because you love it and you want to keep people out of the hospital. Not because you love yourself on camera, not because you like to work out. A lot of people like to work out, a lot of people look damn good. That doesn't make you qualified, okay? You want to be a teacher. You want to spread the word of health. Like I said, in my approaching 30-year career, the fitness industry has gone from what are you going to do when you grow up to a booming thing that we know can keep you out of the hospital. And so what I would say is, if you really want to get into it and you really want to succeed, understand that you're trying to become part of a community. You're trying to be a house that people can come in the door and every time they leave feel better than when they walked in. And you're going to keep them healthy and strong, and when they leave, they can go spread their word. In the short term, I want to be a place for 12 to 17-year-olds to come and learn about how strong they are, about their bodies, about how good it feels to push themselves. And that's the short term, that's the immediacy. In the long term, I mentioned before my girlfriend Rain. Rain was born in the Philippines, and I've had the great fortune of traveling there with her on a few occasions to meet her family. And in the long term, I would like to have in training America and in training in the Philippines. And I want to bring this gym, weightlifting, strength, good nutrition to the rural parts of the Philippines. I'm very passionate about, no matter what country you're in, 225 pounds is 225 pounds, and it can make you healthier and it can make you stronger. So I want to pull the focus away from this is what fitness looks like, and I want to put it on this is what fitness feels like. When you feel strong, you feel confident and you feel healthy. And when you're strong, a saying that we have in the fitness industry and exercise physiology, and the inspiration for the name of my corporation, which is Adaptations Training Limited. The saying is this: strength is the most important human adaptation. And the reason for that is because that leads to longevity. So a weight room is a place to get healthy and a place to get strong and a place to go when you don't have a place to go. I'd like to give that to as many people as I can ever give it to.
For those of you who would like to follow Paul on his journey, we will share his business information in the description. Subscribe for more inspiring business stories, and only if you really liked the video, give us a like. Thank you all for watching.